Hello everyone, welcome to the third lesson of the CrowPanel-ESP32 Terminal series. In this lesson, I will teach you how to display images from an SD card on the screen. Although the ESP32 RGB screen and ESP32 SPI screen all use LoveYangFX library, they are different of hardware pin configuration. This lesson will include two parts. The first half will use the ESP32 RGB screen board for demonstration, and the second half will use the ESP32 SPI screen board for demonstration. You can choose which part to watch based on the board you are using. This course uses the compiler Arduino IDE 2.3.3. Download LoveYangFX library version 1.1.12. Alright, let's kick off first part. First, open up the course files and locate the code for the third lesson. Once you find it, open it up. If you're not sure where to download these course files, check out the description below this video. I'll have a link there for you to grab the course materials. Alternatively, you can visit the product's wiki page, where you'll find all the relevant information and resources for this product. Here's the demo code for displaying the SD card. To make it easier for you to grasp, I've broken down the code into three sections: the display driver, the SD card driver, and the image display. As for the driver interface code and pin configuration, I've already gone through the setup process in detail in the second lesson, so I won't go over it again here. Moving on to the second part, the SD card driver. The most crucial aspect of the driver code is the pin information. I've defined the pin information here, and you'll need to modify it based on your board's schematic. Otherwise, if the SD card driver uses incorrect pins, it definitely won't be able to initialize the SD card properly. Find the schematic diagram for the board you're using in the course files and open it. Right now, I'm demonstrating with ESP32 RGB screen board. Once you've opened it, locate the section for the SD card. You'll need to modify the pin numbers in the code based on the pins used in the schematic. First up is MOSI, which you can see in the diagram is connected to ITWU. Next is MISO, which is connected to a 41, and that matches too. SCK is also correct. Finally, the CS pin is connected to IONA, which is also accurate. It's important to note that in the course code, not all configurations are guaranteed to be correct. You need to confirm them based on the actual information for your board, so please don't skip this step. Next, let's take a look at the overall framework of the program. In the setup function, we first initialize the serial port for debugging purposes. Then, we have the initialization functions for the display and the SD card. The SD card initialization function is here, and you can see that it uses the pin numbers we just defined. So, these pin numbers are crucial. If they don't match the pins used in the circuit, the SD card won't work. Below this, we have the setting for the SPI read-write speed, which is also the read-write speed for the SD card. After the setup function has finished executing, the contents within the loop function will continuously run, as both the display and SD card driver have been successfully initialized. At this point, you can invoke the function to display images from the SD card. It's important to remember that the slash at the beginning of the file name cannot be omitted. This slash represents the root directory, and it's crucial to follow the proper formatting. It's non-negotiable. Next, you'll need to put the images onto your SD card. Insert your SD card into a card reader and connect it to your computer. And then find some photos, which resolution have to be 480 to 320 and format have to be 24-bit BMP. Copy them into SD card and give the photos a name that matches the code.to. Ensure that the file names match those in your code. I would recommend double-checking them. Additionally, if you'd like to place the images in a specific folder within the SD card's root directory, make sure to modify the file paths in your code accordingly. After completing the previous steps, make sure to eject the card reader and insert the SD card into the board you're using. Then you can proceed with uploading the code. First, check the compilation configuration. In the board section, select ESP32S3 module. Since the program doesn't require a lot of memory, you can use the default partition scheme. For PSRAM, choose OPIP-SRAM. For details, see board setting in Wiki. Finally, connect the board to your computer, select the corresponding serial port, and click to upload. Since the compilation process can take a while, I'll speed up this part of the video. Once the upload is complete, you'll see the screen cycling through the images from the SD card specified in the code, changing every second. Alright, that's the end of the demonstration for displaying images from the SD card on ESP32 RGB screens. Next, I'll use a ESP32 SPI screen board to demonstrate how to display images from the SD card. The ESP32 SPI screen code for this course needs to modify the hardware configuration section based on the ESP32 RGB screen code, as well as change the initialization function of the SD card. First, open the schematic diagram of the SPI screen and modify the pin definitions in the code according to it. Starting with the SD card section, identify the corresponding pins in the schematic diagram. Find the corresponding pins in the schematic diagram. The SD card's transceiver pins correspond to I/O ports 13 and 14. Clock signal pin corresponds to I/O port 12 of ESP32 chip. Chip select signal should correspond to I/O port 10. Modify the code accordingly based on these references. Then, for LCD display part, similar to SD card modification process, update pin definitions according to schematic diagram. Finally, refer to any example of ESP32 SPI screen from Wiki and transplant both hardware configuration section and SD initialization function into current code. Next, you should put the images onto your SD card. Insert your SD card into a card reader and connect it to your computer. And then find 4 photos, which resolution have to be 480 to 320 and format have to be 24-bit BMP. Copy these 4 pictures into SD card and give the photos a name that matches the code. After completing the previous steps, make sure to eject the card reader and insert the SD card into the board you're using. Then you can proceed with uploading the code. First, check the compilation configuration. In the board section, select ESP32 S3 module. Since the program doesn't require a lot of memory, you can use the default partition scheme. For PSRAM, choose OPIP-SRAM. For details, see board setting in Wiki. Finally, connect the board to your computer, select the corresponding serial port, and click to upload. Since the compilation process can take a while, I'll speed up this part of the video. Once the upload is complete, you'll see the screen cycling through the images from the SD cards specified in the code, changing every second. Alright, the content of this lesson is over. Thank you for watching.